Hey, how are you? I see Arish in the comments. Hello. So, first of all, I want to thank you all for being here. Welcome back to this second part of the accessibility track I am running. On the on the first session, we discussed about what accessibility is, why we need it, and why we should be concerned about accessibility. Um, for those one who don't remember or didn't watch the first stream, let's do a little recap about that. Accessibility is about making something for everyone. Um, I do like the clarification here about expanding our concept of everyone because we usually think of everyone as the same person as me, like the the other being equal as me in capabilities, in knowledge, in like everything, right? So expanding our concept of everyone to include more people, it is the key concept in accessibility. We talked about there are something like 50%, 20% of the entire world population having some way of disability. And doing our products just uh, the way we think of ourselves, the way of how I do things, not how others can do things. It's a little um, well, you complicate yourself, right? Because you just think your product for users like you. So accessibility in a specific web accessibility, it's doing an effort for making these products being capable of be used for every people in the world, no matter if they have a movement disability or a seeing disability, uh, no matter the disability, even age-related disabilities. So uh, we talk also about why this is important. I talk about just the concept of having access to the information on web. It's like a human right, so we should do this by law. But there's no restriction in all countries. From the U.S., specific for government websites, there is a restriction. But besides that, no matter the law doesn't force us, we should be doing this. The other reason it improves the performance of your site because if you think it this way, the algorithm who's deciding uh, who pages pop first, it's somehow a disabled person because he cannot see and he cannot read the way we do. He cannot interact with our page the way a typical person will do that. So it's better for your page performance, it's better for the SEO, and you should be doing this because you're a good person, right? That's a little recap of what we see the Monday in our last session. And today we're going to try to put that in practice. Plus, we are going to learn how to make open source contributions, right? So Tell me on the comments, please, if this is your first time with open source, or it is not your first time with open source, but it is with accessibility. So, what's your experience? Are you excited about something or of this session? I don't know. I want to hear you. So, um, that was like a good time for waiting for more people. I don't know, 6 minutes. We can wait a little bit more. But to be honest, this session is not going to be long enough to make a significant contribution, but something it's something, right? Um, so I will guide you through my process of do these open source contributions plus to the process I'm learning of how to make sites accessible. We have a comment here. First time with both of them, so that's exciting. I hope you take something from this session and apply it, right? We also have another comment. It is my first time with open source and with accessible websites. That's really cool. So thanks for letting me be your guide. Let's start with sharing my screen. Okay. So you're supposed to see my screen now. Okay. I have some resources here. Uh, First, if it is your first time with open source and you want to learn more about this interesting world, it's a really big topic, so I won't be able to cover it all. Um, but here are some guidelines from GitHub, so you can go to open source guide how to contribute. You can check this. Let's walk through this guide, right? So first of all, why to contribute? That's kind of tricky. There's a lot of reasons to contribute to open source. Uh, Modern web, it's based on open source. So, for example, if you're in front end and you want to use a library to develop faster, and you decide, okay, React, maybe it's a good idea. Yeah, you're right. React, it's always a good idea. But okay, React, for example, it's open source. React Native, it's open source. Also, Vercel, a company who's developing awesome tools. I really love the work of Vercel. It's open source, and they have, for example, a framework for React, which is Next.js. Um, I don't want to talk more about Next.js. I just want to say I love it. But yeah. Modern world, it's based on open source contributions. um, you get to meet a lot of people who are interested in similar things. uh, Same thing as in communities. um, let's say open source, it's a community, right? So this is very important. When you contribute to open source, uh, you get to improve your skills, and you get experience in real world projects, and you can put that as students in your resume, so that's pretty cool. uh, yeah, a little advertisement here. In the Major League Hacking, we have some a fellowship with an open source track, and I know some of the pop leaders giving these tracks, and they are amazing. They build incredible projects. They were talking about this the last time we talked, and I just keep getting excited about the projects they were building. So more reasons. it's empowering. Yeah, I think this is a very good one. When you contribute to open source and you get approved in your contribution, like the owner said like, okay, this is good, let's put it in your project. You feel a way I cannot explain it. It's like oh, sorry. Oh my god. My work, it's production something, and everybody's got to see my badge in the repo. So I contributed to this project. I love. I believed in. Um, so yeah, that's these are some of the reasons. Again, I think there are more and more and more. And personally, I think everyone has to have their own reasons. Let's see the comments quickly. Uh, I only make useless contributions to open source, no experience with accessibility. No contributions are useless. All contributions are good. That's the first thing. For example, I think my first contributions to open source was translating the documents for Angular. Yeah. So I translated from English to Spanish. That was like a task in a bootcamp I was taking, but that was very cool, and it wasn't useless. I really hope some guy who speaks Spanish go to the docs and says like, okay, this is in Spanish. I can understand it better now. I don't know. Hola guys, Manish. Hello. A cool way to salutate. Can you take part in open source projects as a beginner? Yeah, yeah, definitely. Actually, in this session, we are going to take part as beginners, and there are specific repos for that. And I want to show you how to contribute specifically as a beginners. How to find I think it is how to find projects to contribute. That's the key question, and it's very hard, to be honest. I think for me it's the hardest thing when you're starting with this entire world. The easy answer is okay. The I think the easy answer, and this is something they say to everyone when they are starting in open source, but I don't think it's the best answer, is take a project you normally use. For example, I do React, and I do Next, and I do Angular, and I use a lot of projects that actually are open source. Okay, they say to you like, take that and start contributing to them. As a beginner, you may think that's impossible. How can I, that I'm starting to learn React and I'm starting to learn Next, could be able to contribute to these very, very big projects, right? And I think it's somehow right and somehow wrong, because again, for example, taking the anon 0x1 example. Oh no, sorry, from Ambriki. Um, no, no. There are no useless contributions. Everything you do has an impact on the project. For example, again, I contributed to Angular, not with code per se, but with translation to the documents, so more people can understand them and the knowledge keep expanding. I'm not saying I make a big contribution, but I'm not saying I made a useless one. There are no useless contributions. So when you're trying to find a project and these persons tell you just take one you already use, you may be only using big projects, again, like React or like Next or like Angular, and you may not be able to contribute them with code, but this isn't something you do not understand at first. So when they say you contribute to them, you're thinking like, I must be a pro to make open source, but the truth is you don't. You can start l- with projects that are not that big, and it start making small contributions like, hey, I fixed this typo, or hey, I saw there was an error during the s- life cycle of this component and I fix it. Or bigger, I thought your algorithm was like having these troubles, so I do this other algorithm to improve the performance. So again, you start with small things and get get to understand um, more complex problems, and you get to contribute to more complex projects in general. So let's see during this session how to find these projects to contribute, specifically when you're a beginner. But because when you start mastering these open source contributions, there is no problem of what should I contribute. You just start uh, finding problems in the projects you already use, and yeah, then the thing they say to you at the beginning starts making sense, right? So let's continue with that. You should see my page right now. The second, what it means to contribute. Um, this is what I was talking about. You don't need to contribute with code. You don't need to understand and being a pro. You don't need to understand everything, and you don't need to be a pro in the project you are contributing. Again, you can say, "Hey, I saw you're missing a semicolon. It's like no big deal, but I contribute with this." Or, hey, you're using this word, and I think some people won't be able to understand this specific technical term. Why don't we change it to this other one or to this sentence? And that actually is an open source contribution, and also it's an accessible contribution. Remember the things we talked the last session. Uh, we want the pages, the knowledge, the website to be understandable. So it's not we don't like technical language, and we don't like being properly taught, but if we can try to explain things more easily to people, we should do that. So that's a good example, I think. So also there are still like these questions, and this is in matter of what does it mean to contribute. Let's keep this section, and these are orientating yourself to a new project. Okay, you should understand how open source work, and there are some key roles in this open source community. First, there are the authors. The author, it's the person slash organization who created the project, who's hosting the repo, who's actually having the ownership. But there's also the ownership. Um, there's a slight difference between these ones, and it is very good explained here because the owner it's not always the author. The author it's the person who started it, but it sometimes the owner it's the person who's now administrating it, managing it, who has the decision of who or what things goes to the project and what things don't. And the author maybe it's not even in the project anymore. uh, but yeah, and there are also the maintainers, and this is the responsible for driving and managing the organization aspects of the project. um, when you how to explain this. Okay, you have a project, and let's retake the author and the owner. Let's say Peter B was the original author of the project, but Peter B is no longer in the organization. So now the okay, no, that may be confusing. Let's say Peter B is still in the organization, and so Peter B is the author plus the owner of the repo, and he is not maintaining the project. There are other people who are maintaining the project, like constantly um, checking for updates and resolving big uh, bugs and fixing things and etc. But the maintainers decide there's this issue and we are not able to resolve this right now, maybe later. But what if I put this issue to be of public knowledge? So contributors, the next role here, come and say like, hey, I know this project, I like, I believe in, I use, etc., has this issue, and why do I not try to resolve the issue? And then they resolve it. So now they make a pull request to the maintainers so they can approve their contributions. Maintainers take the contributions from the contributors and add it to the project. And that's the that's somehow an explanation of how this open source works. Let's do it again. Um, Remember, you start a project, you may be the author, the owner, but but you don't have time uh, for maintaining that project. So there are maintainers, people who's looking for updates, issues, bugs, etc., etc., etc. in the project, and sometimes they don't have time due to their other activities or due to their technical incapabilities of resolving a project. So they announce like, "Hey, we have a problem here." So there's a section in GitHub. You may know called issues. There are like known issues for the same team projects, and contributors take that issues and resolve them and ask to the maintainers to join their resolve to the original project. And that's how open source works. So there are also community members, people in the project. They might not be contributors, they might not be maintainers, but they're still in the project, right? Okay, let's see if this far we have some questions. Good, I see we have questions. That's good. How can SRE or developers be able to contribute to open source, and what should be the approach? How will be able to contribute in infrastructure and cloud? Okay, let me think. How can SRE, so reliability engineering, I think you're referring to, or DevOps, be able to contribute to open source, and what should be the approach? Hmm, I haven't thought of that. Remember, and I think the key concept here is that not all contributions are in code, right? That's the key concept. Not every contribution has to be a contribution of code. So how will they be able to contribute in infrastructure and cloud? The answer is they probably won't, unless the project is having issues like uh, connecting to the cloud, or like doing the interface, right? But the project maybe have problems like serving the product, or with the space they're managing on memory on the cloud, or etc etc. So the maintainers, or the people who is in the project, the community, start telling like, hey, I've seen the project, it's very slow from these to these hours in the day, right? um, a DevOps or SRE could tell, I think the problem is this, and this is how you can manage to resolve it, or you could let me more privileges on the project to do a connection, or to do this or that, right? So there are a lot of ways they can contribute, and the thing is, you need to stop thinking of open source contributions just as code contributions. Yeah, I think I've resolved that question, that question good enough. If you keep having questions about that, put a comment and I'll check that. Please drop a link to that website. Yeah, that's an amazing suggestion, and I'll do it in a second. Okay, you have it now. Here's the link, right? I keep reading more comments. And what happens when I try to fix a bug in the code, but instead of fixing it, I make it worse? Okay, then don't worry. Um, I hope you're familiar with the flow of Git. Not Git flow like the methodology, like the flow of how to have a branch, and then you ramificate your project and do things in some of the branches, and then you merge all the project all together. Well, then in GitHub, well, not just GitHub, Gitbucket, GitLab, whatever the code repository you're using, you take the project you like, you fork the project, you make the changes. If you screw the code and nothing is working, and yeah, you, instead of fixing a bug, you add more bugs and you make it worse, you don't have to worry, because you just simply don't uh, merge the project. And if you think you solve the project, their problem, and then you pull request it to the maintainers and they approve it, and later they find you didn't resolve the bug, or maybe you did resolve that bug but you added more, and you're afraid of them, they blame you like, hey, you do this and we're going to sue you, and you're going to go down, man. That is not going to happen. The flow, or the contribution process, it's supposed to be reviewed when you you resolve it and you make your pull request, and you're like, okay, I'm pretty sure this works. The maintainers has the responsibility to check that and run all the tests and make sure your contribution it's good, and that's when they approve to you. And if it's not good, they should tell you like, okay, thanks for the effort, but you resolved this problem, but now we have these other problems. Please resolve the chain of the problems and then make a pull request again. That's the process. Yeah, don't be afraid for being persecuted if you commit a mistake. They'll happily tell you like, this is not working the way we want it, or this is not working at all, or whatever. Or if you see they don't approve your pull request and they don't give you any feedback, you can think your solution is not good, or they are very busy on other things. So don't be afraid of that. And also check in list isn't working. I can log in and returns 404. I'm not authorized. Um, that's the thing. Let me check that. I'm going to share here in the comments another link. Uh, just give me a second. For thanks for reporting that. Okay, I put the link here again. And if you don't work, if you are not able to register again, um, please let me know uh, because that bad. Okay, I really love. There's a lot of questions here. Thanks. How to manage time to contribute to open source? You mean like how you can? I'm trying to think this question. Like, how many times should I spend in open source? How many times should I, or like when I start a pull request, what time till I get response? Could you explain more here, please? My application got rejected multiple times for MIs. I think these are both separate questions, or you're meaning like how many times you have to expect for being in the open source track. Okay, uh, explain more in this one. And in this one, to be honest, I'm really sorry, but my advice is not give up. Uh, Keep applying. I have many friends who has to apply more than 3 times, but finally they got accepted. The thing is, we have really small groups because the program is so good, to be honest. Uh, but the thing is, you're not bad. There are a lot of people trying to apply, and we are doing the best we can to accept all. But we have to reject some of you in order to keep the quality in the process, right? But keep applying. You will get the fellowship. I can usually find open source projects seeking contributions by searching for issue label good first issue. Yeah, exactly. Um, but it seems difficult to find open source projects with an active community who which you can discuss the reaction of the project in a way you can with regular organized projects. Is community all through issues, or is there some way to communities organize? It depends on the project. Um, for example, I used to belong to an open source community in my university. I is still in the university, but the open source community is not. um, yeah, and we do not have like a specific project, Well, I think some of them do, but we in general as community didn't have a specific project, but we shared like, hey, I like this one and I like this other one. Um, Again, there is no standard way in which they organize, but I've seen some of them have like Discord servers, and like the activity of them really depends on the community. If they have like a strong leader who's or well, strong maintainers who are saying like, hey, we're releasing this, or we want the project to take this path, or what do you think about this, or what do you think about that? Well, it fully depends on the maintainers and the project, its specific project. The thing you're saying, like organized projects. I'm thinking again, sorry, with React, for example. React has Facebook behind it. Um, Angular has Google behind it. There are like big support of communities, but there's also big support of the open source community. You can think it of Linux if you want. There are like Linux forums and Linux servers of Discord and communities, very active, and other ones not so much. If you like a project and the community it's not very active, I think you can do it's like entirely fork the project. Somehow like the crypto works like I like your project but I not like the way you're doing this, so I'm forking this and I'm calling another way and it basically do the same. So you can start you can fork the project and start building a community big enough for maintain that, and maybe it does the same the other one did, but you will have an active community and that will be a plus. Um, these are very good questions. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. What is better, working on one open source project for years or contributing on a new open source project every year? That's hard. And I think it depends on you. I mean, if you really, really, really believe in one project, yeah, if you really, really believe in one project, keep contributing to it, keep working on it, be part of the community, even become a maintainer. If you just want to contribute to open source, like for building your uh, what's the word? I totally forgot. CB or something you can show to the world, do it. It's not bad. But if you want, if you like a project and you're focused on it, keep contributing every time. And one doesn't mean you can't do the other. I mean, you can marry to a project and become a maintainer and full support it, but also keep contributing to other open source projects. Uh, the thing is, for example, there are Hacktoberfest. In Hacktoberfest, you get to contribute to a lot of different projects, um, and you do small contributions or big contributions, but just once. So there are not fight between them. You can do both, and it's not a problem. And you can do none, and it's also not a problem. I encourage you to contribute to open source, but you could do it once, you could do it forever, and you could not do it. Uh, Maybe pipelines. What are you talking about? Sorry. I'm trying to find other messages of you. No, I didn't understand this about the pipelines. Sorry, could you explain it more? Sir, we can't check anymore. Okay, I'm going to report that. I'm so sorry you can't check. I'm going to speed up this because we're running out of time. What was your approach to your first organization selection, please? Again, it was a task of an open source, no, sorry, two of bootcamp I was taking at a time, and one of the teachers or the instructors told us like, I love Angular, so you are going to contribute to the Angular documentation, translating it. And it was like, yeah, why not? It was really cool. It was a cool experience, and it was my first approach to a real open source contribution. Then I joined the open source club, and I started learning and learning, and it's very related to uh, open source with Linux and everything. So you can start both ways. There are differences. There are different things, so there are differences, uh, but they are really, really similar in some things. Let's see. Can you add to your resume to be contributing to an open source project? If you said, yeah, surely. It's the way you sell it, right? You can say like, "Hey, I contribute to another person's project." You can be honest and say, "I fixed some typos in the project," or you can just say that. And when they talk you about your experience, you say like the whole process, and you just, yeah, I just fixed some typos." Again, no contribution, it's useless. They are all are cool, and the thing of being a contributor, it's that you can say it, and it gives you a very, very advantage, a very, very good advantage, because at least you know the process. And contributing to open source, even if it's just fixing the typo, goes well in your resume. So yeah, totally do it. Did you check in? Oh, maybe I shared a wrong link before. I don't know, but you check in. That's us. Um, I think it also depends on how big the project it is. Yeah, I think contributing to multiple projects with your best exposes you. Okay, new problems. No, yeah, that's totally true. If you keep contributing to just one project, if it is big enough, you may be in touch with similar problems or similar stacks technologically. Uh, but if you start contributing to multiple open source projects, you will see that you will find a lot of different stacks, different ways of write code, and different maintainers, different persons. So again, it depends on your preferences. I encourage you to do both. Yeah, take a project you love and contribute it for life, and but also don't stop contributing to other projects. You just don't abandon the issue you are solving. Was in reference to Java Jumi. Okay, I mean, I think this is for the pipelines. Ah, yeah, about the not the register, right? I think. And this question relating to O's contributions and DevOps. Okay. I mean, oh yeah, I get it now about the DevOps contribution. Thanks for answering. I mean, as working all day to get some bugs and Asian developer, so how can I manage to contribute to OS? I would say in your free time, but also if you can find a way that be paid for that. For example, If you convince your boss, like, hey, we are using this, but we're having this issue. So next month I'll be working on this open source project, not fully in or I mean, it's not core code for our enterprise entirely, but we are going to use this. So it is important for us that I can work in this. So you can do it in your free time, but you can um, you can find a way to contribute during work that would be better. There are some jobs that actually pays you to contribute to open source. Yes, there are like companies who has like developers for contributing to open source, and the open source projects they use most are just open source projects in general. If you're an open source lover and you want a job like that, I don't know where you can find it, but I'm sure they are. Uh, Let me check. I have contributed to a library. Now I'm getting email from people to fix some of the. Yeah, I got the time for all for them. Also, new times which is coming out. Learning equal contributing to open source equal to work. How to manage time to contributing to open source. Yeah. First of all, you don't have to feel that as an obligation. I know some people may think like if you do this once, you should do this forever. Uh, but the truth is not. No. The people needs to understand that we should be thanked for the open source contributions we get, because through this, some of us don't get paid for contributing to open source. Uh, Luckily, there are people they are. Again, if you you have to you're looking enough to get one of those jobs, that will be awesome. But if not, you can just do it with passion, the times you want. If you don't have time, don't feel pressure. You're doing a lot of effort working to eat, basically. Um, so if you're really passionate about this, and you do it with love and you find free time, that's enough. If you find a way you can get paid for these contributions, or you find a way your work allows you to work in open source, that's better. Where I can find these jobs who allows to contribute to open source. For example, I'm working in a startup, and I'm really sure if I talk with my manager about some issues we're having, I don't know, with a specific library we're using that it's open source, and I'm saying like, hey, I should fix this and make a pull request to the maintainers, and that should fix our project or this issue we're having. He will say like, yeah, go ahead. But that's me, that's my job. If you're not working in a startup or an environment that allows you to have this liberty, again, don't feel pressure, or try to find another job that does. Try to find a job that pays you to maintain open source. Uh, but that's again preferences. That's not strict instructions. Um, so yeah, don't feel pressure to do open source, please. That's all the questions. That was a long comments section. I really appreciate it. There were like beautiful questions in there. Let's continue, right? So, getting to the part of finding a project to contribute, a long way till this, right? In this link, or I share with you in this page, they give you a phrase. I don't want you to look at this phrase. I want you to explore these pages. For example, this will open your GitHub page, and based on the projects you're building, based on the projects you fork, based on your repos, this will give you um, other repos that you can contribute, like that may be interesting for you. This is going to open mine, so this is not a matter. This is, for example, Open Source Friday. Let's open it. Open Source Friday, it's a page, an initiative that allows you can learn here more about how to contribute. Um, for example, this is like a YouTube. Um, this is like a YouTube video of how to contribute. Yeah, but if I remember well, contributors find a project. Okay. Mm, I didn't like this page much, but this is the one some of you were talking in the comments. First time only. For timers only, it's I think the best page for you when you want to start in the open source world. And here, for example, uh, okay, first they empower you. That I think it's really awesome because they show you like these tweets of people sharing their experience, uh, and they also give you like if you're an open source owner, how could you be in this page? Yep. So there are a lot of resources here. If you go to GitHub and search for the label first timers only, you will have a lot of repos of for first timers in open source. This first contribution hands-on tutorial, it's really cool. I take it. For example, this is a site that aggregates rollups and markups projects that actually want help. They are also labeled like up for grabs, jump in, or help one. Let's check this. For example, up for grabs. It's a really cool page because this shows you a lot of projects and the help they want. Uh, you can search it for month, week, years, how many times these projects wanted help, etc. Let's find one we like. Dokusauru, for example, Dokusauru it's really cool and it's a project from uh, also Meta now, Facebook. But let's see the issues they have. First, let's see what Dokusaurus is. If you haven't heard of it, Dokusaurus, it's I don't know what it is. I don't know how to explain it. Let's say, but it's a project from Meta. I personally don't use it, but I saw it before when I was trying to figure it in which project we should contribute now. But for example, they have the issues here, and they have seven good first issues. You can see they are labeled this way: improve docs, navbar, items, error message. Have you read of contributing guidelines on issues? Blah blah blah. So there is one of two tasks already done. You can read all the documents here. And talking again about accessibility, look at this beautiful thing. Remember ally, it's shorthanded for accessibility because it's a 11 words between the A and the Y. Accessibility. Like and Dermok checkboxes doesn't announce state switches for screen readers, I think. So we also have a linked pull request, 14 comments. You may be thinking a lot of people has worked on this, and all tasks are done. We now should wait until this has the approval of the maintainers, and we should see here the I can find the dark, okay, this one, the dark and the light button for the screen readers to announce the capability. But yeah, related to the accessibility, this is the kind of bugs we are looking for, or the issues. Let's keep rolling. Um, you see, there's even big projects here. .NET Runtime, uh, PHP, MyAdmin, a lot of, for example, I thought I read LinkedIn, but yeah. So again, ask me the question on how to find projects when you're starting. I think this is the way. This is the easiest way I will find. Let me share with you. Oh, yeah, let me share with you the link. This is, uh, and also the link for first timers only, right? First timers only. Let me try to find the, yeah. Uh, as Anna was saying here, you can go for the issues label good first issue. There are also another labels for first timers. Uh, you can find it in the links I put it before. We have another question, general question. Don't the right place to ask or no? I know tons, Docker, Linux, Bash, React. Okay, yeah, you know a lot of stuff. Uh, but I can express myself and I can apply for a job because of getting rejected. Also, I can create a better resume. Okay, let me put here the question. And I think, yeah, it's, I don't know if it's the best place to ask, but I can try to help you. Like, I kind of know what you're passing through. I personally I don't think I'm a person who cannot express himself, but I know a lot of person who does. And when I run workshops about creating resumes or hacking the technical interview, etc., I get to know a lot of people who has incredible technical abilities, but they cannot do like an interview without get all freaked, right? The good news here is that, how to say it? The good news here is that you probably don't need to. If you don't feel like being a person who's able to express and move and dance and sing and whatever, you probably don't need it now for being in a good job and for being a good professional. Other thing is that you want to do it and you're not being able now. So then you will have to assist to our. I think yeah, here in the Major League Hacking, they run a lot of like sessions of how to improve your resume, how to speak in public. Um, my advice, if you do want to be a person like that, it's approach to your local community and tell them, I want to give a speech. I want to give a workshop. I want to give a night. Maybe it's a more short format of a speak. And when you force yourself to start relating to people, you probably do an awful job the first time. But then you do it again. But then you do it again and again and again and again. And it's like everything. I bet you were not an expert on GraphQL or Python or Flask or Gatsby once you started. Uh, the thing is, the console shows you errors, not the person rejects you, right? But it's the same thing. You don't get to be an amazing programmer once you burn. You get to practice and you get to do mistakes. And the same with people. There are persons who it's more easy for them, as there are some persons that there is very easy for them to program, like if they can talk binary, right? But again, it's a matter of practice. Um, but yeah, I hope you find that answer satisfactory. Let's continue. Um, we all covered a lot of things in this session about what is open source and all your questions, and how can we start in open source. Um, Time is running, so one last thing I wanted to show you, it's, for example, how do I do it myself? I told you before I use a lot of tools from Vercel. If you haven't heard of Vercel, let's just Google it. Vercel, it's a company. Oh, this is my personal account. Okay, um, let's do it in another window. It's not that I have something that I want to show. It's that I want you to see the way you could see it in your own computers. So you go to Vercel, you just see it's a normal page. They have features. They have Next.js, they have CLI, analytics, previews, infrastructure, etc., etc. I can find they even have a hosting. I use this for all my projects because I use Next again, and it's very easy to integrate and deploy a project in Next using Vercel, etc. Um, yeah, that's all about Vercel. So I know I like Vercel, so I go to the Vercel GitHub repository and I start to looking for projects I can contribute. There are the public ones. So I hit like, hey, I know I'm very good at web, so maybe I cannot contribute right now to Next.js, but I can go to websites. And I find that, for example, there is official website for SWR. It's a tool they have. Um, I don't know what it is. This is like I think it's a joke or some funny project internally. But I also found this one, the Hyper official website. And for those who don't know Hyper, it's a terminal, and I really like it. Actually, I use it on my own. Uh, I got it configured with uh, all my CS Edge and spaceships theme, I think. I don't remember it well, but yeah, I really like it. So I thought maybe I can contribute to this website, right? So this is the website they have. Here you can download, you can see the plugin, themes, and etc. about the all about the terminal. And I think like, okay, I'm going to contribute to the Hyper website. But how do I contribute? Well, let's see the issues. Better documentation, space reduce, space the theme request for hydrogen, missing preview images, allow manual platform, correct config location. There is no issue report about accessibility. So I don't know if there is no accessibility issues or they don't know about their accessibility issues. What do I did then? Well, I went to the page I showed you before, the web accessibility to well, the web accessibility evaluation tool, and I take the URL from this and I paste it here, and I found surprise but not surprise. They have no errors. Like this is a very clean website for accessibility. They even have a good practices here. They have ARIA on their links, their forms. The only thing they kind of have is they're missing an H1 tag, but I couldn't find something they are using as main theme, just this logo. So the contribution I could make is grabbing this on an H1, but that won't be a good practice because it is not a title indeed, it is an image. So I found that I could not contribute this. Well, there is no big issues here. So uh, kudos to the Versal team and the Hyper maintainers. Well, the Hyper website maintainers. But that was the thing here. So instead of that, I wanted to show you all the accessibility project, the Ali project. Uh, of course, this is Audi accessibility web. So if I go to the evaluation tool and I put this link, probably it will be the same. Uh, I want to show you the no, sorry, I want to share with you this tool. Here you can find a lot of resources, a lot of posts from their blog, a lot of videos and resources again to understand what accessibility is. Uh, but yeah, so the thing I could do is go here up for grabs and start scrolling and see the tags of these ones. Remember, we have good first issue tags, we have up for grabs tags, we have hell wanted tags. There are a lot of tags in the repos we can use for for searching projects that need maintained. And yeah, that is all I wanted to share it with you today. Um, Remember, I'm posting here the no, oh, this one, the Ali Project website. And thanks a lot for being here. I really hope you get something from this session. Uh, we don't achieve of goal of actually contributing in code, but remember that was tricky because not all contributions has to be in code. Um, for those one who post their questions in the comments, thanks. Really, really, really good questions, and I hope I answer it well. So stay tuned on the Global Hack Week for social good, and that was all for my part. Thanks. Thanks, Indigo Quizzer. And thanks.